Okay, we should make a start. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. I know myself, having been blessed with two children who are now of appropriate ages, just how exhausting it is traipsing around the country. If it's any consolation, in the first session this morning, there was a family visiting 5 universities whose home was in South Carolina, and in the second session, there was a similar family visiting 5 universities whose home is in Sweden. So they win the prizes, but all of you have made a considerable effort. We appreciate it. It's very wise of you to get a real feel for universities by visiting them. One logistical thing, we are not scheduling any fire alarm tests. If a fire alarm does sound, please exit through the green labelled thing at the back of the room or the green labelled door here and make your way out of the building. My name is Tom Ward. I'm one of the Pro-Vice Chancellors here, and I want to give you in approximately half an hour, a little bit of an overview of some of the high-level factors shaping this university, what its education is about, and how we view it. The first thing to say about Durham University is that it's an old university. It was founded in the middle of the 19th century as a formal university, but the history of scholarship, particularly theological scholarship, in this part of the country goes back much further. The Venerable Bede is from the northeast of England, and the roots of Christian scholarship in the UK very largely happened around here. You'll also encounter, as you go around, some ancient wonderful buildings that belong to the university, and we have some fabulous didn't realise it was that controversial. Some fabulous libraries and book collections and so on from reflecting the long history of scholarship in the Northeast. Coupled with that, it's also important to remember that Durham is a modern university. This is a typical teaching facility. We have modern facilities, modern laboratories, and more importantly, and much deeper than that, we are about the future. The research we do here is contributing to society for the next century. The education we provide is equipping our undergraduates to contribute well to society and to do interesting things in 2050, not 1950. And the theme of modernity and how we're equipping our students for the future, not the past, is something that shapes a lot of what we do, and I'll mention it several times. As a mathematician, I'm not enamoured of the methodology behind league tables. They're pretty flaky things. But we can't help but be pleased by the Complete University Guide 2015, in which every single department at Durham University was ranked in the top 10. Many of them, of course, would be ranked in the top 1 or 2, but with my hat on as Pro-Vice Chancellor in charge of the education we provide, I'm very interested in the ones that have the lowest ranking. And all of our departments are in the top 10, and that reflects something very significant about the education we provide. Employers increasingly are interested in the university you came from, the university you graduated from, and your rounded skill set. And I'll say a bit more about that as we go through. But you'll hear graduate recruiters talk about an ex-graduate. An ex is the name of a university, not a subject. That's one of the reasons why it's very important for us to maintain the standards and the ranking and the reputation of every single department, because it is the university from which our students graduate. And they might be studying history, they might be studying physics, they might be studying anything, but it is that they will enter the workplace as a Durham University graduate. And part of why that is such a powerful thing in employment terms is this across-the-board high ranking. Across the board, we pursue excellence and we have high standards. Behind these figures is a mix of measures: research power of the department, the student satisfaction scores, the employability of the graduates from that department, the spend on facilities, and so on. It's a big mixture of things go into that. We have many of us, particularly at this time in your life, as you're going around universities and thinking about university choices, we read things and hear things and form conceptions and ideas about universities. If you name a university to me, I will have a preconception about it. I will have an idea about it. And it's really important to test some of those ideas and some of those preconceptions. Some people think that Durham University has a very homogeneous student body. They all look alike, and they all come from one kind of school and from one part of the country and so on. Just to help orient you, we have about 12,000 undergraduates. They come from about 150 different countries. They come from all school types. They come from all family backgrounds. They come from all household incomes. They come from everywhere in the country. There's a reason for that, which I want to expand on briefly. There are two big reasons. One is that we are absolutely committed to helping you, your daughters and sons, and us to together make the right decision to choose the right university. And from our point of view, we offer a certain kind of education, and it is in our interest to track down students who will benefit most from it, contribute most to it, wherever they're located. And they're located everywhere. There are students who will be happy, successful, and contribute a lot and get a lot at Durham University everywhere in the country, in every kind of school, in every country in the world. And we want to find them. We want to help you make up your decision in an informed way. Because they're everywhere, our student body, as we succeed in that project, becomes very diverse, very mixed. Some of you, during the course of today, will ask lots of questions, have lots of engagements with people, talk to some of our wonderful student guides, form an impression, learn about the intensity of education here, learn about what it's like to be a student here, and decide it's not for you. That was a good day's work. A tragedy in the project we're engaged in now is a student who ends up in the wrong university on the wrong program unhappy, leaving after a year or two with nothing but debt. That's a tragedy. That's the tragic outcome. And Durham University is not for everyone. It's an intense educational experience of immensely high quality. Our students work enormously hard. They engage in extracurricular activities with great energy and great passion. That is perfect for many students, but it's not for everyone. And helping make the right decisions is very important. The second ingredient of why our student body is diverse and will remain diverse is that we're equipping our students for the future, not the past. Durham graduates go on to impact on society and contribute to society in many different ways all over the world. Some of the students who enter Durham this autumn, in 20 or 30 years' time, will be leading international NGOs, operating in 30 countries in 25 languages. We need to equip them for that kind of role in society. And one of the ways we do that is we shake up all the sort of lazy assumptions about things. In the seminar room, you will encounter, your children would encounter, diverse views. They wouldn't be in a room full of people like themselves. And that's across the board. Wherever they came from, what school type, anything, they would be meeting different people with different perspectives, and they would start learning from them the first week. And that learning experience from each other is much more powerful because our student body is so diverse. Unsurprisingly, our students are very high achieving. Our entry standards unashamedly are very high. It's difficult to get into Durham University, and they work hard when they're here, and they achieve extremely high standards. A typical graduating cohort would have about 80 or 81% getting a so-called good honours degree, a 2-1 or first. That reflects both the high entry standards and the enormously hard work they do here. More importantly, out of a typical entry cohort, we would expect about 96% to graduate successfully from Durham University. The sector average for that measure is between 70 and 80%. It varies a lot between universities. We maintain that very, very high successful completion rate through several different means. One of them is this process that we're engaged in right now. We work hard, and you work hard, to make the right choices. We are absolutely determined to help you and your children make the right decision about what program to study and whether Durham University might be suitable for them. We are very selective in that spirit. The second ingredient of this high retention rate, or part of the second ingredient, is how we support students through their time here. We do it in many ways. Of course, the academic department supports them through their academic study in quite a close fashion, and they're looked after well there. But something you'll hear a lot about during today is our college system. For most students, arriving at university is an extremely enjoyable experience. It's great fun, you're making friends fast, you're learning a lot quickly, you're in a new environment, you're away from your parents, it's kind of cool. But for some students, all those things together are a bit much. It can be quite daunting. You're away from home for the first time, for some of them, you're handling your own finances for the first time. It feels like you're in a big and quite scary environment. Navigating the site could be complicated. Navigating the flood of information you're handed in the first week could be complicated, and so on. It can be quite daunting. And the way in which our students are looked after, particularly at the beginning, is part of how we have such a high success rate at the end. We look after them very closely. I had the privilege of experiencing this myself, not as a student, but as a parent. Before I came to work here, my daughter studied here, and when we delivered her on the first day, her college room had her photograph and her name on the door, as did all the others, so they immediately knew who was behind each door. And inside the room there was a handwritten letter from two designated older students who'd been designated as her college parents, making an appointment that evening and starting a relationship. So within hours of arrival, she had students, who were assigned to her, who had the responsibility of making sure she was doing okay through the first days and the first weeks, getting to things on time, finding her department, making the key early contacts and so on. That network of support is very strong and it's proactive. Because the reality is, for most students, it's great, it's additionality. But for some students, it's an essential difference between having an enjoyable, successful start to a successful university experience and having a miserable, alienating, frightening, lonely start. And we work very hard, and the colleges work very hard to make sure they start well, and throughout their time here, the college will act as a support and a human scale support. The university as a whole has about 16,000 students. It can feel big. The college is a human scale environment. The entry group into a college each year might be 300, it might be 250. In one college it's 67 people. It's a group you get to know, and it's a human scale group. We talk a lot about research-led teaching. This part of the sector of universities talks a lot about research-led teaching. I want to say a little bit about what that means for us. Just three themes, really. One is that our academic staff are expected to be research leaders. We expect our academic staff to contribute to society in lots of different ways, to have an impact on the development of policy. Our academic colleagues are influential policy shapers across the board. They are connected to dazzling scientific results. We were very influential in the story behind the Higgs boson, for example. We do important work in things that matter to the world: energy security, food security, the challenge of terrorism, how to minimize fatalities in an earthquake and so on. We would have huge research effort in directions that matter to the world and impact on society. A particularly important one I've encountered recently is a research institute that's located here that works on the relationship between social deprivation, poor diet, and poor health outcomes. And the story of how society is shaped impacts on how society is in physical health terms is emerging as a huge story. We're all familiar with the obesity challenge that faces us as a nation, and there's also this challenge of poverty having an impact on food and health choices, having an impact on health outcomes. Enormously important stories, and Durham is involved in some of the leading research in the area. The second dimension to research-led education is that we try and instill a researcher mindset in our students. 100 years ago, or even 50 years ago perhaps, it was adequate to exit from a good university saying, I studied chemistry and I know this chemistry. Here is the syllabus I studied and I know this stuff. I worked hard, I did well, I know this. And I can go to an employer and say, do you need someone who knows this? I am that person. That doesn't work anymore, and it absolutely is not going to work in the future. Our students graduate with subject knowledge of great depth. They learn a lot and they work hard, but more importantly, with adaptable researcher analytical minds. They question things, they interrogate things, they question the premise behind your question, they think hard about things, they have the minds of researchers, and we get them going in that direction right from the beginning. Part of the transition into our kind of education is getting used to the idea that you are an active participant in the creation of knowledge. And that researcher mindset is part of what makes Durham graduates very attractive to employers. The third thing, and one of the ways in which we make that come out, is that most of our undergraduates at some point will do a team project of a real sort. We try and have them do projects that are not just devised in an office because it would be an interesting way this sounds like an interesting project, but they try and connect to something in society that matters. So I followed in great detail one project in physics which was connected to a small enterprise doing some quite high-tech things to detect weld quality. And it was a real problem for a real small company that a group of students here were able in the end to help them with significantly, to such an extent that at the end of the project they offered jobs to the students. The thing that made me very pleased was that only one of the students could take them up on it because the others already had jobs. It was great. This was before Christmas in their final year. But what was fascinating was the students talked about what they'd learnt from the process. They'd learnt about what it's like running a small private firm. What it's like if your research budget is tightly constrained and you just have to get the answers out inside that budget. What is it like running a company where if you lose your intellectual property, you will be bankrupted very quickly by a much larger company? All those things you're not going to learn in the lecture theatre on a physics course, but they're good things to learn and they're good things to credibly talk about when you're being interviewed for a job. So this use of projects and teamwork exposes our students to things that you don't get in the lecture theatre, but that do matter. And we try and combine them with deep subject knowledge. As I mentioned, we are contributors to society through our research. We work on some of the grand challenges, and we expect our academic colleagues to contribute enormously to society through their research. We also expect our researching academic colleagues to contribute to the education of our undergraduates. Everyone here does some teaching. Your sons or daughters would be taught by our researching academic staff. The support classes might be run in conjunction with graduate students, but the core teaching is delivered by our core academic staff, who are active researchers shaping their subject and shaping society. You'll hear a lot about our colleges during the course of today. I hope you'll get a chance to wander around one. There's a lot to say about them. They provide this extraordinary safety net of support. They also provide a human scale for all sorts of activities. University level anything can be quite daunting. I'll say a bit more about sport, for example, in a moment. But college level is incredibly inclusive. If a student here has an interest or thinks they might have an interest in anything, from ballet to playing the violin to acting to playing soccer, they will find an environment in their college where they can express that and do it. Taking part in things and leading small groups, leading sports teams is immensely powerful. It shapes people's lives, it contributes to their physical health, contributes to their mental health. The statistics about people who lead sports teams going on to earn more is absolutely startling. People who lead sports teams at university on a large scale and to a big extent earn more because they've been exposed to their own leadership skills early on. They've learnt how to deal with people in a certain way in a tough environment. They've shown self-discipline because they have to combine their academic studies, which are pretty intense, with finding time to do their sporting thing and so on. It's a very interesting phenomenon and we're very keen to support it. So the college provides a home, a safe environment, a very fierce set of loyalties. There are 16 colleges. 13 of them are most relevant to us right now because 2 of them are at the Stockton campus, 1 is for postgraduate students. There are 13 aimed at undergraduates, or including undergraduates in Durham City. They vary. Some of them are in ancient buildings, some are in new buildings, some are large, some are smaller. They are enormously successful as academic communities and supportive communities. A sense of scale of the inclusion of people who want to do things is that one of them, Collingwood, next year will have 11 football teams. At the top, that will be quite good football teams. Not the university football team, but good football teams. The 9th male one, or the 2nd ladies one, maybe the standard is not so great, to be honest, but it includes people and brings them in and lets them try soccer, which is a great thing to try. You'll see these colleges, they're different, you'll see 1 or 2 of them perhaps. The important thing is that in terms of commitment to student support, in terms of creating a human scale environment, in terms of ensuring that our students feel looked after and have a space in which they can build their confidence and contribute to a community, they're all the same. They're all absolutely committed to that. There are students who don't get the college they chose, and within a week are completely dedicated to the college they're in. The college loyalty is very strong, and every college does it in their own way, but does it with the same purpose and to the same extent. I've mentioned university sport. At the elite level, we do a lot of sport. We are, at the moment, the 2nd highest ranked university for elite sport, inter-university sport. We're very proud of that, not because it's an impressive achievement, but because it's not what we do. We're an academic university. The athletes here had to get the same A-levels to get in, have to sit the same exams and get the same grades to progress year to year, and they're doing this on the side. We're not a sport university, we're an academic university that does sport well. And some of the experiences these students have just amaze me. I personally have the privilege of mentoring an elite sports person. And I shouldn't let him be identifiable, but at his sport at under 19 level, he is UK number 1. He's doing an engineering degree and doing it well. An engineering degree is long hours, laboratory sessions, 2 to 4 hours a day, additional training, most weekends fully occupied with travel and training, frequent international trips to go and play, and he just does it all. And I look at this young man and think, that's amazing. If I were interviewing you for a job, I would just think, this is dazzling. It's not the actual sport you're doing, it's the fact that you're fitting all that together. The organisational skills, the commitment, and you're doing your degree well. And we encounter that a lot, at all levels. It's difficult to fit all this stuff in, but fitting it all in equips them very powerfully for the rest of their lives, both professionally and personally. I'd say very similar things about music, arts, theatre, and so on. There are plenty of opportunities. At the university level, we would have a significant number of troupes or groups going off to the Edinburgh Fringe each year. Inside colleges, you would find that if you have an interest in singing, playing an instrument, acting, and so on, there will be an environment where that can be expressed and you can discover whether or not you enjoy it and whether or not you want to take it further. In a similar vein, we have a large number of clubs and societies run in conjunction with the Students' Union, hundreds and hundreds of them. And they're great in themselves, they do fantastic things, they're great fun, students get a lot of enjoyment out of them. But from my point of view, students get a lot of value added out of them. Running in, participating in these clubs and societies, if you found and run a society, I know quite well a student who founded a small society, not so small, society during his undergraduate time here. And if you listen to what was involved, it was a bit like running a small company. a very, very small company. He had to deal with insurance, had to deal with people problems, management problems. How do you safely transport a group of students down the A1 in a minibus? Well, you have to hire the minibus and insure it to do that, and CRB check, and so on and so on. And it goes on and on and on. You have to handle the finances. Fabulous experience. And there are no limits to the opportunities for that we provide for our students. We support them in doing it, but they do it, and that's the valuable thing. Something else I wanted to mention about clubs and societies is that one of the largest ones, a sort of umbrella organisation, is called DUCK, D-U-C-K, Durham University Charity Committee, which coordinates and supports a great deal of charitable and social action work done by our students. Durham students are aware that it is a privilege to have an education of this sort, and many of them, on a huge scale, want to give something back in a way that is useful to society and empowering for them. So we have student organisations supporting families of people in prison. We have a prison in Durham City and a high security prison just outside Durham. There's a significant number of students involved in supporting families of people in those prisons and in helping people in prison develop their numeracy and literacy skills. We have all manner of charitable things going on run by our students, and social engagement. Durham has a food cycle outfit run by students and recent students that takes donated food from local retailers and runs a sort of drop-in meal for people who are lonely or wouldn't have a decent meal that day. There are endless examples, and none of them, I'm no longer very surprised by them. That's just what Durham students are like. They engage with society, they learn things through doing so, and they care about the world in a very special way. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoy the opportunity to explore the campus and the city and the sunshine. Sun always shines up here. And do please ask me on the way out any questions you may have, or our fabulous student guides in the white t-shirts or ambassadors in the purple t-shirts will be able to answer any of your questions. So thank you again for your attention. Enjoy the rest of the day.